All right, and we're back. Okay, I have my pieces for my classic toolbox. This is what the classic toolbox looks like. Okay, it is your classic plumber's toolbox. Now, the one that we're going to build is going to be shorter. I built this one long on purpose. The ones that the students will be building are only going to be about 11 inches long in the end. I built this especially so I could pull some of our long combination end wrenches, hammers, that kind of thing if we needed to use them out in the shop. The shorter toolboxes, if the students don't take them home, I plan on using for nails and screws and fasteners as a way to quickly sort them, and then when we're working on projects in the shop, we can bring out the appropriate fasteners quickly and easily. Okay, so there's 4 pieces here, and these 4 pieces will become the 5 pieces of the toolbox. I have a piece for the bottom. I have a piece I'm going to rip in half for the sides, which I'll discuss with you momentarily. And then I have the 2 end pieces. Let's do the 2 end pieces first, because as you can see, there is a curve here. And there's a couple of ways to get the curve. But the first thing we need to know is we need to know where the center of our piece of wood is. Now, I happen to have a protractor here, and this protractor belonged to J. Pearson at some point in time. I'm going to lay this one up. My piece of wood is 7 and about 1/8 of an inch wide. So I'm going to come up here. Half of 7 is, of course, 3 1/2. So between 3 1/2 and 3 5/8, I'm going to put a line. And that's going to be my center mark for this piece of wood. Excuse my sniffles again. Now, using the protractor, it's very simple. I'm just going to take the curved part of the protractor and I can trace the circle. So let me do that on both sides. And actually, I want to try something different here. I'm going to set the protractor thusly, where I can round off the edges. Well, that still doesn't look quite right. So, one of the tricks that you can do with the protractor is that I can bring this out where I've got more of the flat, and I can move this around. Or, let's say you don't have a protractor. Do you have something round that you can use? I can take, for example, this flower pot, and let me move that up just a little bit, and I can round off the shoulders of my piece of wood, just like that. I can use my protractor to soften the edges a little if I want, just like that. And I believe I'm about ready to cut that out, which I'm going to show you here on the bandsaw. Now, of course, marks we don't want, we just put an X through them. And so my shoulder for this is going to end up being about like that. Is it perfect? Probably not. Let me go get one more thing here. Just bear with. I know you're over there. Don't mind that noise. That was nothing. Maybe I have a bigger container. Maybe I could set this container up like this And maybe I could draw it like that. One of the things about woodworking, and especially the way I teach it, I like to teach the way that you would do things at your house. Not everybody has a beautiful shop like we have to work in. Not everybody has all the cool tools, protractor or compass. But certainly we have something round at our house. Certainly we can either do this or we can do that. I'm thinking I like this a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and lay out my other end this way. And I've got defects, I've got knots I have to consider. So I'm going to use this end. And I'm going to hold this down. And I'm going to just drag my pencil around. And just like that, I have laid out for the top piece. Now, this one involves using the bandsaw and doing some free cutting on the bandsaw. So you're going to follow me. And we're going to go over here to the bandsaw. We have 4 bandsaws in our shop. When using the bandsaw, and this one still needs a little TLC, you can see it's got some rust stains on it. You want to try really hard not to let this happen to pieces of equipment that you have, because this becomes a rough spot in whatever it is that you're cutting. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called a freehand cut. Set that out of the way. And in a freehand cut, I'm going to use my 2 hands. And if I can get my broken piece here to cooperate. I need to go and get another piece to put in there. There we go. But I'm going to use my 2 hands, and again, my rule for the bandsaw is that I want to try and keep my fingers away from the blade while it's going. Now this will be more difficult to do my hand width. But if I set this correctly and follow it around like this, I can keep my hands well away from the active blade. I am going to move the fence over. I want the fence over so that I have a backstop. If something happens, it'll grab it like that. And my blade guard is poking up, so this will be interesting. I have a hose. This particular Powermatic one comes with a little hose that blows air and keeps the kerf clear. Okay, when I have everything set the way I want, which I'm not quite ready yet, I'm going to set my wood back here, and I'm going to lower my bandsaw guard down to where it's just above the wood. I use my little finger as a guide back here for this particular machine. You want the guards as close to the work as possible, to the stock, in order to hold that blade steady. Also, I've put in brand new blades. It seems like every piece of equipment I've come in contact here, I have to do maintenance on it before I can use it. All right. So here we go. I'm going to turn it on, let it come up to speed. Now again, this is a freehand cut, and that's one of the nice things about a bandsaw is that you can do this. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to basically rotate the wood along the line, just taking my time, following the line with the bandsaw. And let that piece just go out. I'm not even going to worry about it. Don't worry about the little pieces of wood. Most of us, we want, oh, this is going to bother me. So I'm going to flick it out of the way. Well, when you flick it out of the way, you're going to end up running your finger through the saw. I have done that years ago when I was teaching in Carlsbad. It is not fun. So I'm just going to continue to follow around. and just rotating the wood. I've got an imaginary point right about here. And there is my end piece. I'm going to go ahead and stop this. I can reach around. I really don't like reaching around, but if I am, I'm going to use my offhand out here. Grab this, get the scrap out of the way, and throw it in the scrap box. Now let me get my other piece for the end. Going to turn this back on, let it come up to speed. And here we go. So again, I've got an imaginary point that I'm going to rotate this piece of wood around, just like there was a pin here, holding it in place, following the line. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this out because I want to demonstrate something. What if you've got a long cut to make? With a bandsaw, you can make what are called relief cuts. I can cut straight into the line. And then as I follow this around, as I come on those relief cuts, these small pieces of wood will fall right out of the way. Now, do you need to make a relief cut on something that's only about 3 inches long? That's up to you. But if you're making something that's 6, 8, 10, 12 inches, and especially if it's on an irregular cut where it's not just one standard arc, then yeah, you'll want to make some relief cuts so that you can get that wood out of the way so it's not binding your saw up. Okay, you're going to come with me over here to the sander. Have a disc and a belt sander. This is the disc sander. I put a brand new disc on it yesterday. Let me get this piece of wood out of the way. I was just using it. I'm going to go ahead and just show how we can use the sander to sand this off and get rid of this little ridge right here, maybe get rid of some of the little rough spots from the bandsaw. This is an adhesive disc that adheres to it. This blade turns in the direction of the arrow. I want to use the side that's coming down. I want to use the side that's coming down. If I use the side that's coming up, it's going to want to flip the wood up out of the way. So, not a good thing. Alright. So I'm going to start right here, and again, I want to keep my fingers away. The worst cut you can get, the worst injury in the shop, is with a sander, because it will peel the top layers of your skin right off and expose those raw nerve endings. So I'm just going to put it up in here and follow my line around, just like this. And I've rounded that off nice and neat. I've got a nice smooth cut. It's not quite perfect, but it's the classic toolbox. It's made by hand. So I'm going to do it again. Just going to put that right up, rotate this around through the sander, wait for it to come to the line on those little ridges I left behind with the bandsaw. Once again, have a nice smooth cut or a nice smooth sand. Now, safety rules with the belt and the disc sander. Of course, don't walk away from it until it's stopped. Make sure that the The disc is firmly set up on there. I had some issues with it peeling back because it was brand new yesterday, and these discs have been around a while. Make sure that everything is centered before you use it. There are some adjustments here that we can center the belt. Make sure again that you have things firmly up against. And again with this, very delicate touch. You don't have to ram it in there. Watch the direction of rotation. You want to be on the downward side so that it doesn't grab this and throw it out of the way. Now, I'm a little off. One of the things that I could do, since I'm a little off, is I can hold those up and then eyeballing it. Together very carefully. I could get a clamp. The problem with the clamp is it gets in the way. And that is close enough. So now I have my two ends rounded off, sanded, nice and neat. Okay, now come with me. We're going to do the hole for the handle. Boy, we're having to travel everywhere to get today, aren't we? Okay, we're going to be using the drill press. I could use a hand drill, but I'm going to use the drill press. This is our drill press. It's a nice Delta. It's got all the bells and whistles on it. I have a light. I have a laser. Whoops, come on. Turn on laser. There we go. I have a laser that tells me exactly where I'm going to be. Now, when we're drilling, the drill turns in a clockwise direction. We want to make sure that wherever we're going to put this, that we have something over here backing our piece of wood so that if it catches, it's going to stop. It's not going to get flung around on us. We want to keep our hands out of the way. And in this case, I'm going to eyeball this right about there. Right about there. Now, to do this, this is going to be done nice and slow. I'm going to go ahead and do the whole 1-inch hole all at one time. I have the speed set, as you can see, very slow. Doing it really fast is only going to end up tearing up my piece of wood. So I'm going to use the point. I'm going to make sure that this is put in. Now I am reaching across, but this is not coming at me. Bring this down with the feed. And here we go. I don't want this all the way at the edge, or else I'm going to take the wood apart. And I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way through the piece of wood. And always make sure you have a backing piece of wood down here. I'm going to go about 3/4 of the way through until I have the hole here on the other side. Then I'm going to set it up, bring this back around, put that up there where the corner's caught. And I'm going to go ahead and finish cutting through. Now, why didn't I just go all the way through? Well, the reason is if I go all the way through, I'm going to end up with a mess as it breaks through the bottom. and pushes the wood out. By turning it over and going through each side, I have a nice, smooth cut. Now, I want to make sure I get the same spot on the other end. So I'm going to put my two ends together. I'm going to run this down through the hole I already have. And I'm going to make a mark on the other side, just like that. Now I'm going to get my piece of wood centered where I want it. And here we go. So again, I'm going to draw down. I wish you could see that. There you go. I'm going to go down about 3/4 of the way through the piece of wood. And if you do bind it up, just let go. The belt tension is not very tight. Have my hole on the other side. I'm going to pull down, and now I'm going to go finish this out. There we go. And again, I have a nice, smooth hole on either end. Okay, and that's all I need with the drill press. I'll come back and clean my mess up, and now we're going to go back over here to the table. Now, this is going to be the end of part 1. Part 2, I'm going to rip the sides for you, and in part 3, I'm going to put it together. So this will be the end of part 1. We'll come back for part 2 momentarily.